Good morning, everyone. So I was thinking, the last Sunday service we gave here was in early July, so it's been a while. Very, very nice to be back. And, you know, I'll begin the topic in a moment, but just sitting here with all of you, chanting, meditating, listening to the beautiful music, this is so much more than we realize. We're really sending light and blessings to the whole world when people come together like this. So thank you, all of you who live at Ananda Village, who come and participate and serve, for just keeping the fires of devotion and intensity of the search for God, keeping them burning so strongly, year after year, moment by moment. As Master said, and I think about this often, the minutes are more important than the years. And each of you, I know, are focusing your life all the time on God. So, as we said, we have a very profound and very important topic today about the spiral staircase, reincarnation. And I want to read, this is a very fun one from Whispers from Eternity. I will hop from eternity to eternity. My gold gossamer astral body, shining with the spark of immortality, hopped, cricket-like, from one blade of existence to another. Thou hast clothed the barren soil of eternity with grass blades of many cycles of time. I will hop to them, one by one, from one blade of pleasure to another, until I can leap to the safety of thy reassuring hands. With living threads of thy joy, I was formed. I am happy to have danced my part in this cosmic show. But I have done now with restless hopping. I would find rest at last in cosmic changelessness. Human lives again, like slowly moving camels, plod ponderously over broad sandy deserts toward the oasis of self-awareness. As developed beings, their astral bodies pass also from planet to planet. Only in thee at last do they find what they were seeking always. Lord, give me again the perfection of fulfillment in thy love of infinity. So, I don't really need to convince this group or sell the pitch of reincarnation, because whether we remember past lives or not, if we follow the teachings of our Guru, it's such an inherent part of it that we move from lifetime to lifetime, picking up understanding and moving closer to God, if that is our choice. But this image, I want to use this image more, and I hope it will stay in all of our minds, of the spiral staircase ascending. You know, that image comes, I'm sure you know, from Master's poem, God, 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 God. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral staircase of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. So, what is this spiral staircase? We each have one, and for each of us, it's different, because we create our own spiral staircase according to our own karma, our own choices. We start out, we're a little spark of the infinite divine consciousness. And we come and we take a body and we're in this world and we start making choices. It's like Disneyland. Oh, I want that ride. I want that ride. Oh, I have a lot of tickets. Maybe these tickets will last many lifetimes. Anyway, you go, oh, I want that, that, that. And then we forget, oh, I don't live in Disneyland. Where did I come from? And yet here we are. And every time we make a choice, we build a habit, a physical habit, a mental habit, emotional, and that solidifies this spiral staircase. It builds the step one by one. But we have to remember that the ascent of this spiral staircase isn't automatic. It's not like a escalator or a conveyor belt that we get on and woo, I'm going up the spiral staircase. No, no. Some years ago, Jyotish and I gave a week-long class on Patanjali. I think it was at the seclusion retreat. And there was a man in the class who had a very good sense of humor. And at the end of the week, we kind of reviewed what they felt they got out of the week. And each one spoke, and then finally this man said, you know, when I came, I was very confused. Now I'm still very confused, but at a much higher level. And the spiral staircase, it's like that. We can be there going around and around, but if we don't say, wait a minute, how do I ascend this spiral staircase? We'll just keep going around and around. And it doesn't necessarily, when it kind of ascends, then we go back. But we have to understand that we created the karma that created the spiral staircase, and each one of us has to find our own path. We were talking some time ago with a new person who had moved to Ananda, and very sincere and deep devotee. And they had just moved recently when this conversation took place. And they said, you know, I've really been praying to Divine Mother to show me, okay, how do I move forward now? What's the plan? And she said, I'm not getting any answers to my prayer. And we said, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't, Divine Mother doesn't give you, okay, take this step, take that step, take this step. It's like driving at night, in a stormy night in a car, and you have your headlights. You can see a little bit ahead, but you can't see the whole route. And when the day comes and the light, the sun reemerges and the clouds disperse, then we could get a drone and look down and say, oh, that was the route I was taking. But we can't see it at first. We just can only take the next step. But we have to have the courage to take that step, not knowing the end game, but we just take that next step. And you know, so many of us, I would venture to say all of us, are in the midst of some level of karmic challenges, of tests, of confusion, of mental, emotional, physical suffering. That's the name of the game. But if we can remember that, look at each step that you're on and say, what is it going to take to get on that step? What is the lesson? Don't just say, oh, poor me, oh, I'm confused, oh, I'm going through this, or this person treated me badly. Forget all that. Always ask, what's the lesson of this step? And then impersonally stand back and say, think about it, pray about it, feel it, and then you'll see the next step in front of you. But you won't get the whole plan. Nobody gets the whole plan. I mean, the masters have the whole plan, but they're illumined. As long as you're in the ego, you won't get it. But you can, with like perseverance, with determination, what am I supposed to learn right now from what is happening? We often ask people that question when they come to us and they're going through a test. What do you think you're supposed to learn from this? And if they're if they're lucky, they can see. But you can't always see, but you keep working until the clouds part. You say, oh, I get it. I get it. And I can see what caused this. Because, as I said, the spiral staircase is not a conveyor belt. Even though it's step by step, there are uneven steps, there are broken steps, there are gates on the steps, and you have to just keep moving forward. What am I supposed to learn? And at each time you do that, the gates open, and you can take the next step, and you get confidence. You say, oh, okay, I passed that test. I figured out that one. I can do the next one. And it becomes, the more you ascend the spiral staircase, the more confidence you get. But also, remember, this image is important. It's circular. And so you're going back over old territory, but on a higher level, like our friend said. But these ropes of karma, the chains of karma, they don't dissolve immediately, bit by bit. You get it. Oh, that's that old demon again haunting me. Oh, I remember you, but I did better last time. And you keep working with it until you finally can just understand that there are threads of karma for each particular incarnation that are the main themes that we're working on. And once you get that, it's a lot easier because, okay, here it is again. I know how to deal with this one, but it's not like it's random. It's not like you get dealt a new hand of cards, every step of the way. No, it's the same hand of cards, but it's how you play it. It's the wisdom you use in playing the hand of cards, the hand of karma that you've been dealt, that you created, really. And, I was thinking, we all try to meditate, we all have our restless minds, but recently I've been thinking, like when my mind starts getting restless, what am I doing? I'm thinking about, I have to do this, I have to do that, I remember this, I do that, I have to do that. And the word, the ego is based, or the Vedas tell us, at the medulla. And the Vedic name, the Sanskrit name, I should say, for the ego is ahankara. And what's the root of ahankara? I looked this up because I thought, what is this? I do. Why do I keep coming back to that point? Ahankara, means I. Kara means to do or to make. The ego is I do. And it's not a terrible thing, oh, you have a big ego. It's just the false identification that you are the doer. And when you get still in meditation, you think, forget about what I have to do. Let me just rest in the self. That's who I really am. And Hong Sa, I am he. I am he. He is the doer. That's all. Some years ago, this very respected and saintly Swami from India, Swami Kriyananda from Rishikesh, came to visit. It was Swamiji Kriyananda was still alive at the time, but he was away. He was in India or Assisi. And we were showing Shankarananda around, very fine man, showing him, he's a disciple, he's a Kriya lineage from Swami Shirteshwar, and he has a big Kriya yoga ashram in Rishikesh. But we were showing him around, and he was just so impressed with everything he saw. The village and the beautiful buildings and the people and the service and the outreach and the sharing and everything we do here. And he said, after a while, he said, how did Swami Kriyananda do all this? And then he paused and he said, oh, now I understand. He didn't do it. God did it. And at first I was a little put off by that. Because I thought, no, wait a minute, I watched Swami do it. But then I thought, no, he's right. The reason Swami was able to do all this is he never saw himself as the doer. He just was a channel for God. And we need to remember that in everything we do. I do. No, God does. God does. Whatever it is. And that's how we break the identification with the ego, I do. And that's how the chains of karma don't bind us so much, because we realize all I am is spirit. All I am is a soul seeking God. If I've made bad judgment in the past, if I've developed bad habits of attitude or whatever it might be, then it's not who I am. It's just something that I have to work through. And our guru said, this is a quote, and very helpful, the lesson of reincarnation is to neutralize the waves of likes and dislikes, of desires and aversions, and to live in the expression of kindness and forgiveness and compassion for all, and to rest in the contentment of the self. You could think about that for a long time. Starting off with neutralizing, I want this, I don't want that. Just the ego, just the identification of past incarnations. Desires, aversions, likes, dislikes. That's what Patanjali said. Yoga is the neutralization of the waves of likes and dislikes. But then you move on, and to have the love and compassion and forgiveness and kindness for all, because that's again a reflection of a free soul. To see in everyone their highest potential, and to be only an expression of love for them. You know, Jyotish and I are working on a second edition of the books we've been writing. And I remembered the very first day, July 4th, 1969, that I came to Ananda. And I'd been traveling from Madison, Wisconsin I got some ride with some people from fellow students. And, you know, in an old beat up car with no air conditioning, and just traveling cross country for 3 days, just sleeping in the car and driving. One of us would drive. Anyway, I arrived. And I hadn't showered, I hadn't changed, I hadn't done anything for 3 days. I was all dirty and crumpled, and I was standing there. And Swami came up, I didn't know who he was even. This person came up from behind me, and he looked at me and he said, I was good in school, I was bright. And he looked at me and he said, "You look like a Phi Beta Kappa," which is an honorary thing. And I was, but then you couldn't tell it by looking at me. And my clothes were all dirty. And a couple said, "What a beautiful shirt you have on." And it wasn't beautiful. But who is this man who sees something in me that I don't even, how could he perceive it? And then someone came up and said, "That's Swami Kriyananda." But the ability to see the best and the highest in everyone, that's part of the movement of freedom from the bonds of reincarnation, because we hold on, oh, this person did that, and I don't like what they said, and blah, blah, blah. And it just keeps us in bondage. Whatever anybody else does, you just look at them and you just say, what a beautiful expression of God you are. What a beautiful shirt you have on, even though it doesn't smell very good. That's what we need to do. And then finally, the last part of that quote, the lesson of reincarnation is to rest in the contentment of the self. What does that mean? Because you think, well, I'm not very contented. No, the ego is never contented. The ego is always restless. But the self, the divine self, the soul, when we touch that, even a little bit in meditation, we start feeling, oh, this is where peace is. This is who I am. And all the doing and the getting and spending, that's just a sideshow. But the only show in town, truly, is to rest in the contentment of the self. And when we do that, then we're free. We just move up, we float through that spiral staircase. And when tests come, don't be afraid. They're there for a reason. And Christ says in the Bible, and people don't understand it, but our Guru interpreted it, if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off. If you got a bad habit, get rid of it. Doesn't mean literally cut off your right hand, but doing. What does the right hand do? It does. You just say, I'm tired of doing that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And if someone slaps you, Christ says, turn the other cheek. Again, Master explains, it means if your karma comes, say, bring it on. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. By the time we have come to this place, this point in our reincarnational spiral staircase, remember this. Swami told us that to be sincerely seeking God and offering your life in discipleship to such a great master as Yogananda, an avatar, he said, if you think of all the millions of years and the hundreds and thousands of lifetimes as a 24-hour clock, by the time we get to this point where we all are right now, just a few more ticks of the second hand, and we're done. But we have to understand that it takes work. And even those last few seconds, I would venture to say they take the most intensity of them all. It isn't like you cruise through at the end. And so let's rejoice as we ascend the spiral staircase of wakefulness. And remember who's the wind in our sails, helping us to ascend that spiral staircase, opening the doors of understanding, giving us the courage to say, I need to change this, and I will. Remember what Master said. Our gurus, they didn't have to reincarnate anymore. As Master says in God's Boatman, I will come again and again, crossing 1,000,000 crags of suffering, if need be, with bleeding feet 1,000,000,000,000 times, as long as there's one stray brother weeping by the wayside. That's their promise. And so, the spiral staircase, let's look at the top. And what's at the top? Only light, only oneness with God. And we've gone through so many incarnations to get here. We've gone through so much suffering to get here. But we're not done yet. But the end is in sight. And as Christ said, he who overcometh, I will make a pillar in the house of my Father, and he shall go out no more. And my friends, let's keep that always in our minds. God bless.
God is our Father, our Mother too. God is our dearest treasure. God's ever near, the one friend who loves us without any measure. Of his dreams our love was made, only from him his love repaid.
Let us in gladness all live for him, serve him in every season. us in gladness, I'll live for him. Serve him in every season. Serve him with thought, with hand and limb. Love him without any reason. God befriends us as we are. Fools we that hold his love afar. God befriends us as we are. Fools we that hold his love afar. Evening garden, silent fountain, glimmering stars in its depths, a sudden leaf falling toward the water, ripples bring memories. Sunshine, laughter, young folk dreaming of a world they would mold. Each girl a fair muse, each boy a hero. Ripples bring memories. Friend, all our lives we spend seeking the stars, thinking them almost at hand. How far must we roam ere our minds turn within? Ere we at last understand. Twilight mist falls, old folk linger, dream what they might have done. Youth's shining star has become an ember. Ripples bring memories.
Thank you to all of our donors for making it possible to share these videos and keep this channel ad-free. If you feel inspired to donate, visit ananda.org/give.